What's up, everybody? This is Nick. Alright, so I came back down to the shop again to dig into this 61 Lincoln Continental with the Mel 430 cubic inch 7-liter engine. So we had a problem earlier with no spark condition from the starter relay to the coil, which is normally housed right there. I took it out. There's a coil right there. So I got another coil, thinking that may be the problem. Just a cheap coil for now to test. Ran a battery line direct from the battery to the positive on the coil, and then the coil, of course, to the distributor. These are kind of some older style distributors that I'm somewhat familiar with. It's just a little bit older, well, quite a bit older technology than the new distributors with the internal coil. So there's lots of components to get these going. Once I had the new coil on, it did have power to the distributor. Then I ran a test with the test light on the spark plugs and was still getting no spark. So I was able to determine that it's an issue with the distributor itself. So the thing about these older distributors, you can actually get kits to rebuild them, or like there's a condenser and some other components. I'm thinking rather than deal with components to rebuild this thing, I will eventually just get a new distributor. Now the shitty thing is about these 430s. Well, I mean, they're great engines. But if you can see under there, that bolt, that's pretty much right in the center of the screen there, under the distributor. That holds the distributor on. So what I'm gonna have to do is figure out a way. I tried all the tools that I have to get to that. Unfortunately, I do not have the right socket or the extension to get under there at the moment. But once I do, I'll just take some creativity on my part to get to that bolt right in there. Then I can take this distributor out completely and replace it. I found one for around 75 bucks, which isn't bad for a distributor. I figure for peace of mind, I'm just gonna replace all of the electrical components for the ignition system, which includes, of course, the distributor. I got a new coil already. A coil's a coil. I mean, I'll eventually get like a nice one, but just to test and diagnose, I got just kind of a cheapie. I also got a starter relay. There is that plate right there is to the front of the fuse box. There is another section down there that's held on by 5 bolts. And it's really hard to get to, but the starter relay is under there. So the motor turns really well, just not getting any spark to the spark plugs. So that's going to be my next step, is to either rebuild the components inside this old style distributor or buy a new one. Another thing that I was able to diagnose, and this freaked me out for a second, that's the fuel pump push rod for the mechanical fuel pump, which is right there. This is an aftermarket two port. Have the extension to make it a 3, but it doesn't work as well as the original. And these 2 ports, especially on these motors without an electronic fuel pump, are notorious for vapor lock. So I think what I'll eventually do is look for an aftermarket and then either put that on here and then have a primer electronic pump near the rear, near the fuel tank, to push from there into another fuel pump, like a mechanical fuel pump. Or I might just delete the mechanical fuel pump altogether and just run an electronic, because I think what I'll do is, rather than make this car original, I want this to be a driver, and these old motors with the stock setup anyway, like I said, are notorious for vapor lock. So I'm going to update this motor, probably just delete that fuel pump, do an electronic fuel pump from the rear into Edelbrock 1406, which I have not tried or seen anybody else do, but I actually read that some people are using the 1406, which is a 600 CFM, with really good results. These take about 6 pounds of pressure or something like that to really work well. So anyway, I'm just down here working to get this car started. Thankfully, oh, that was my scare with the push rod. It wasn't moving earlier. I was able to put some WD-40 in there, tap it down a little bit, cranked it over, and was able to get some video of that moving. So at least I know the camshaft is good. That scared the crap out of me, actually, because there was no movement there. But it was just pushed all the way to the top and didn't have the lever here on the mechanical fuel pump to push it back down. So I think we're in good shape. This motor so far, from what I can hear anyway, sounds really good, and seems like whoever had it before me did a lot to diagnose the electrical issues, just weren't able to figure it out. But thankfully I have some experience with these MEL 430s, the electrical system in 1961. Lincoln Continental. I'm gonna step back here. I know that there's gonna be a lot of you pissed off about all the shit that I have on the hood right now, but you know what? This original paint, which is the Presidential Black, is gonna be gone eventually. So this is gonna be my custom 61 here. As much as I love the stock setup, and I love the OGs who keep these cars original. If you can do that, if you can afford to do that, man, I gotta give it up to you guys. But I'm gonna make this one for the most part custom. I am keeping the MEL 430. There's a lot of people who do the LS engine swaps in these, but I say fuck that. These 430s are badass motors. There's no reason, in my opinion, to swap these out. Anyway, these are badass motors. I'm just gonna update it a little bit to make this a driver. Make it clean under here. Hopefully, here, actually I'm gonna grab a light real quick for my fellow Lincoln Forum folks. Here's a 350 that I built in our food truck here. It wasn't a complete rebuild because this is a really good block. Actually, this is a new motor to the truck. I basically just updated everything. Did a new wiring harness myself. Still got some wiring to do, but pretty much everything under here is brand new. So hopefully, and it's a little dusty now because it's been sitting down in my shop for a few months without any TLC, but she runs strong, and hopefully I can make the MEL 430 and the Lincoln just that pretty. So anyway, hope y'all are well. This is what I'm doing. I guess we'll check in soon. All right, bye.